Okay, thank you. So hello everyone. My name is Ludvig. I'm a PhD student in Stockholm, but I'm currently also a pre-doc fellow at CCA at Flatiron Institute in New York. So I would like to start by just thanking the organizers for having me here, and I'm very happy to share some of the recent results we have in terms of field-level reconstruction of the large-scale structure and cross-correlations with the CMB at the field level. And I'm also very happy that Beatrice and Adrian also already introduced field-level inference. So to start with, I'm going to talk about digital twins today. And one of the reasons that we really would like to have them and why they're useful is they basically give us access to a physics laboratory of our real universe out there. It's also a very rigorous test of our cosmological model. So we need to simultaneously fit all the observed structures out there. We don't only look at one individual object at a time, but we really look at the full field, and we want all the structures to fit simultaneously. We also get velocity fields that are self-consistently evolving with the density field. So they are consistent with each other. So we have evolving density fields. We also have the corresponding velocity fields. We can do discoveries through CMB, we can look for anomalous superstructures, and we can check for all these things in the same environment. So let me just play this video, which in contrast to most of the videos that you see, this is not a random simulation. This is a simulation that's been constrained by real galaxy clustering data, in fact around 70,000 galaxies. And the video is made by one of my colleagues in Stockholm, Stuart McAlpine. So you really see that all these structures form, and these major clusters, unfortunately, I don't know exactly which cluster this one is, but it's out there. So all these massive clusters are constrained by the data. So Beatrice mentioned the Borg algorithm, and this is the one that I've been mostly involved with since I started my PhD, Bayesian origin reconstruction from galaxies, where you start off from some cosmological parameters and your initial density field. You pipe that through your favorite structure formation model, gravity only. What I will be talking about today is using a COLA PM method. Then you have this galaxy bias term where you basically translate from your dark matter output at redshift 0 to your galaxies using a galaxy bias model, redshift space distortions, selection effects, masks, and so on. Now, in order to sample the initial conditions that gave rise to this data, this is based on the Hamiltonian Monte Carlo algorithm, where you basically get access to your posterior distribution of initial conditions. Now, since every parameter in our initial grid is a parameter of interest that we want to infer, this is a very high-dimensional problem. So from 128 cube voxels, that gives you 1 million parameters to infer jointly. Or if you go to even higher resolution, that would be almost up to 1 billion parameters. So now the initial and data fields, they are connected by a differentiable model in order to enable the HMC algorithm to work, since it's based on the gradient to efficiently search the space of initial conditions that could have given rise to your data. So let me now talk briefly about some of the data products that we have performed by applying the Borg algorithm to real galaxy clustering data. So last year, Stuart and a few others of our Aquila consortium published the Manticore Local project, which is using 69,000 galaxies from the 2M++ galaxy compilation from different surveys, and it's going out to a redshift of 0.06. Just to show you how this looks like, I have a slice here of this field where you in the background see the dark matter density field that has been inferred and now overlaid by the galaxies that are the real data. So let me just briefly show this one again. You see that they match very nicely. And even in this region where we don't have data, we get a large-scale structure that is consistent with lambda CDM. So now you might also wonder why I put this Manticore local dataset in the corner here. That's because I'm currently involved in the next phase of this project, which is the Manticore D project, where we basically scale this up now to roughly 1.66 million galaxies, and using several surveys, up to a redshift of roughly 0.7. This is a huge inference problem where we basically have now a problem at 4 gigaparsec cosmological volume and at a resolution of 4 megaparsec. But what I wanted to talk about, since I'm here on this conference on cross-correlations, I wanted to mention the CMB lensing aspect of this project. So I don't need to explain to you what CMB lensing is, but why is it useful to have access to a logical structure that is the digital twin that we have created? Well, first of all, galaxies that we observe, we have heard of cross-correlations between galaxies and CMB lensing, but the galaxies themselves are bias tracers of the underlying matter field, which is the one that's actually deflecting these CMB photons. So what the reconstruction effectively does, given a certain forward model that we have, it removes the effect of galaxy bias and redshift space distortions. It's also a very powerful validation that our reconstruction is valid, given that the density field or the reconstruction is only based on the galaxy clustering data itself and not CMB. So this is a complementary probe. So either you can imagine now sending your CMB photons through the real universe or through the digital universe. Now, of course, we do not have access to this unlensed CMB map, but what we can do is we can look at, for example, the convergence field. And that's what we did as a start. And in the top here, you see the Planck satellite convergence map. And in the bottom here is our reconstructed Manticore Deep posterior mean of the convergence map. So for for this Manticore Deep project, we get access to a few samples of so we have a set of digital twins, and this is the posterior mean of those simulations when you forward evaluate them and create this kappa map. We can cross-collate these two, and we nicely get a signal. So in blue here, I show you the Manticore Deep cross-correlation with the CMB lensing map, as compared to if you just have a random simulation, or a set of random simulations with this null test, you see that there is no signal. So when we do cross-correlate with Manticore, we see the signal, and it gets us a signal to noise of roughly 13 sigma. Now, this is, of course, quite incredible, because we are only having constraints up to redshift 0.7, while, as we've heard throughout this week, the CMB lensing signal peaks at redshift around 2. Also, this signal is dependent on the resolution that we use for the inference, which is roughly 4 megaparsec as of today. So now, for the last couple of minutes, I would just like to show you the future of how we can go beyond this. And I've been working on a project on improving the reconstruction, on the nonlinear scales, both in terms of the density field reconstruction and the velocity field. So this can benefit a lot of different CMB anisotropies, from TSE, KSE, even the moving lens effect, and a lot of cool stuff that we could do. The issue is that many physical processes are inherently non-differentiable. So Adrian talked a bit about different ways of going about to do differentiable modeling, and there has been a lot of work and effort into differentiable hydrosims and these kind of things. But I've been looking at a different approach of how we can just naively incorporate these non-differentiable forward models. So I've developed this framework called Learning the Universe by Learning to Optimize, which is agnostic to your simulator. So as long as you can create pairs of input and output, and here you see the halo field in the bottom and then the density field in the top, what you then do is you basically look at your data, depends on what it is, you can just create difference fields. And having access to these difference fields, now you give that delta D, which is simply the subtraction of your simulation output with the data, you give that to some kind of neural network. In our work, we've been using 3-dimensional convolutional VNet models. That gives you a prediction of how to update the initial conditions, such that when you next time pipe this through your initial conditions and simulator, you better match the data. So we did a test of just generating some initial conditions, piping them through an n-body, full n-body simulation. That's gadget 4 in our case. Then we get access to the density field from which we populate halos to create a halo catalog with the Amigo Halo Finder. Our reconstruction turns out like this. We will smoothen the field just for us to visualize the field. We then get the density field and the halo field reconstruction. So we can see here, even at the individual halos, we see that we get a very nice correspondence. And this has been now generated with a non-differentiable model. But in this loop of having access to this neural optimizer, as we call it, we basically can update initial conditions such that we better match the data. And just some quantitative plots. Here we show the density power spectrum. And you see in black the true and in green the reconstruction, and you see that they match very nicely to sub% or 10% down to the very smallest scales of roughly 2. We also managed to get back the halo mass function to a very good agreement with lambda CDM as well as the truth. And in addition to these tests, we also look at a lot of different validations which are in the paper. Everything from cross correlations to higher order statistics, bispectra, and also like individual velocities of the halos that we have created. So with that, I would just like to summarize the things that we have been working on. One of these things is the Manticore Cosmic Digital Twins. So I would just like to highlight the cosmictwin.org webpage, where we basically share some of these data products that are available. Everything from some of the initial conditions to halo catalogs and so on. So if you're interested, you can have a look at that webpage where we share the latest updates. The thing with Borg is it relies on differentiable forward modeling to make use of the HMC sampler. So that's why I've been looking into this new framework, Lulu, which can incorporate any simulator. So please have a look at the paper if you're interested. Just like to highlight that it's a local search engine compared to a lot of these generator models, field level inference stuff of using implicit likelihoods that both Beatrice and Adrian talked about, which makes small updates to eventually find, so it basically can navigate the space of initial conditions to eventually find the ones that are the correct ones. So I'm very much looking forward to applying this or extending this framework to apply it eventually to data and then do cross correlation with CMB at even more nonlinear scales at the field level. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have a question over there.
Yes, thanks for a nice talk. So I think this digital twin is pretty cool, but do you guys have in mind like what kind of cosmological information or even astrophysics you can extract that is not possible with traditional statistics?
So are you asking about like inference of cosmological parameters or?
Yeah, or just like what's the benefit of using that compared to other methods?
Right. So we've heard a lot about like the optimality of using field level inference. So that's one aspect. The other aspect is we can really do object by object identification and look at anomalies and see where we don't fit with our current model. Now, in terms of the cosmological parameters, most of the work that we've done, but even though there are a few works, as was exemplified by Beatrice in her nice talk, we are mostly, at least in the works that I've been showing here today, we have fixed the cosmological parameters. We're looking into ways of extending that to jointly sample initial conditions with cosmological parameters. That would be the ultimate goal. One thing I can mention, and that's one of the major challenges we have with differentiable forward modeling, is that the galaxy bias is a huge challenge. And that one is degenerate with a lot of the cosmological parameters, which is also one of the reasons I've been looking into this Lulu framework, because basically you could break the degeneracies between the galaxy bias model by having access to the full non-differentiable forward modeling models that are out there.
Thanks. This is really exciting and super impressive. You mentioned that you handle redshift-based distortions in this forward model. And I'm really curious, given that you're on this Cartesian grid with a resolution of like, I think you said 5 or 4 megaparsecs.
4 megaparsec, yes.
What RSD emulation or correction looks like?
So at this point, basically, I mean, everything is happening below the grid resolution. That's something we do in the end. So everything is happening at the particle level as of today. So you have the simulated particles and you do redshift-based distortions of your simulated particles.
Okay, question in the back.
Thanks, really nice talk. I have 2 questions. One is that you're not sampling, is that true? You just optimize?
Yes. Yes, for the Lulu one right now, it's a demonstration that we can search the space when having access or using non-differentiable forward modeling. But it's correct, it's not a sampler at this point, no.
Okay. Second question, I guess, like for your Borg reconstruction of the actual galaxies, so you have the initial condition for that field. Is there anything interesting, like the initial condition field?
In the field itself, you mean?
Yeah, I guess like isn't that what we want to know about?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. So there are, of course, directions. For example, as mentioned by Beatrice, it was a recent paper by Adam Andrews this week, earlier this week, on the quire reconstruction. So Adam has also been looking a lot into the primordial non-Gaussianity, so FNL inference. So of course that it matters. But right now, I would say at least like the most we can get out of these digital twins is by resimulating them and then looking at the higher order statistics and individual clusters that we can resimulate, and then we can compare them with data.
Thanks.
Okay, are there any other burning questions? If not, let's conclude with a game.
Thanks.